Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen for Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Gina K Designs You Give Me Butterflies bundle. This includes a stamp, die, and stencil. I'll be sharing some ink blending tips along the way and a fun trick if you want to mass produce. This is the large 6x8 stamp set that you would be receiving in the bundle. There is also a coordinating die that has dies for the butterfly and the flower and leaves. Also, some of the sentiments have coordinating dies. And then there is this stencil. Now, this is a two-piece stencil. The first stencil will allow you to color in the butterfly. So you can use the stencil or you can use your favorite coloring medium. We also have a stencil in there that will allow you to color in the flowers. So you can either do one color all the way across the flower, or I'll show you how to step it up with multiple colors. I'm going to be doing a bunch of these, so the easiest way for me to do that is to die cut out a bunch of the flowers and a couple of the butterflies from some layering weight white cardstock. Now, you do want to save your negative pieces as well. That's going to come in super handy. So now I just have a bunch of these plain pieces of cardstock, no stamping on them yet or anything. I just went ahead and die cut out a bunch of the flowers, leaves, and butterflies. I'm going to take the negative piece that I die cut out those flowers from, and I'm going to trim out each section. So I want to make these kind of as close to that die cut piece as possible. This is going to help when we start stamping. Now, in my Misty stamping tool, I do have a piece of grid paper. You do want some sort of paper on here, and I'm going to lay out all of the flowers or any of the images that I plan on stamping, which is all of the flowers and also the butterfly. Then I'm going to pick that up with the door of my Misty, and I am going to condition my stamps because some of these I haven't used yet. And the best way to do that I have found is to ink them up with an embossing ink. And then I take my tidy towel and just wipe those clean. That's going to help these stamps take ink better. Now, I still have just scratch paper or that grid paper in my Misty. I'm going to ink up all of my images in black onyx ink. It does not have to be stamped perfectly. I just want to make sure I am able to see all of the lines of my flowers. So once I stamp those down, lift up the door of the Misty, you can see we have all of those images stamped down on that paper. Now, I'm always making sure that my paper is tucked into that bottom left-hand corner. Now I'm bringing in a sticky mat. Now, mine that I'm using today is kind of a clear one, and this is from My Sweet Petunia sticky mat. And I'm using that to hold my cardstock and my die cuts in place. It's clear, so I can see through to the images I stamped at the bottom. And then I'm taking all of those pieces that I trimmed out and lining them up over that stamped image. Now, you could also just tape everything down. That would work as well. But I find the sticky mat to be super helpful. Then I just go in and match up all of those die cut pieces that I had die cut out previously. So the sticky mat is holding my die cut in the center and also the frame around it. This is going to help get everything lined up perfectly, and I felt it just was faster than stamping and die cutting each and having to line up my die cuts all the time. Now I'm inking up the images in that black onyx ink, and I'm going to stamp these down. You just always want to make sure, if you have to stamp multiple times, you just always want to make sure that that bottom right-hand or bottom left-hand corner is always tucked in. So it's always going to stamp in the exact position. Now here I am going to stamp it one more time. There were a couple areas that didn't stamp as well because it's a brand new stamp. So I just stamped it once again. Then to release my die cut pieces, I'm just picking up my sticky mat and I'm kind of bending the mat a little bit, and then I'm helping kind of pop those pieces out. You could use tweezers if that would help you. You do just want to be a little careful. This is a lighter weight cardstock, so you don't want to rip it by pulling it off. But I find these sticky mats to be just really helpful. It isn't super sticky, and I have not had any problem with cardstock ripping. So once I removed all the pieces, I'm going to bring in my other die cuts and stamp out a bunch more. So after I have everything stamped out, I have this nice collection of stamped images perfectly trimmed out and ready to be colored in. Now, I will be using the coordinating stencils to color in my images, and this is just one of the ways that you can do it. Now, I could use my sticky mat to hold these die cuts in place, but I wanted to show you another option. You can always use paper on your work surface. I happen to have a media mat or a silicone mat, so it kind of holds my cardstock in place with these smaller images. Now, this first one, I am lining up the leaf image, so there's only one layer of the leaf with the stencil. I thought I was going to try something a little different and create some blue leaves. I don't end up using these in my card project today, but I did still want to share with you what I did. I am using some Spellbinders Best Ever craft tape to kind of secure my stencil at the top there. It's not going to perfectly hold it down, but it grips it enough that it's not going to shift. So I started with Sea Glass ink from Gina K Designs and then came in with Blue Lagoon just on the one end. So you can do this with any color combination, if it's greens or maybe dark blues. And once I have that first leaf done, I do take a paper towel or rag, wipe away the excess ink, and then I can just pick it up and move on to my next leaf. So you can see this is going to go super quick. I just need to wipe that down, pick it up, move it over to the next leaf, and keep continuing on with all of the leaves till they're all done. So I can do that exact same thing with the butterfly. Now you're probably going to notice I have some pink flowers in there. I'm going to show you some different flowers later on here in the video. But for the butterfly, there are so many color combinations you could do with this. I'm starting with Passionate Pink. So I'm going on the outside edges of the butterfly, blending in so it kind of fades into white in the center. So this is a beautiful technique. I think it really adds highlight areas when you have it kind of fade off into white. And I'm going to continue that same technique through the other two layers of the butterfly. Now you could make these layers all different colors. Each layer could be a different color. I decided to just go with all pinks on this one. I thought I was going to do more of a pink card, but you can see that's going to transition as the video continues. Now, once this is all done, I am going to clean my stencil, and I like to use a rag and some rubbing alcohol to wipe down all of that excess color, and then I can bring it in to do another color. So right there alone, one color, little bit of shading, it's beautiful. But here you can step it up. So my stencil is clean and I'm going to bring in some sea glass. Now that I am using a mini blending brush and I'm going in the center and blending out towards that pink. So we have a little bit of blue, we have a little bit of purple where it's overlapping with the pink, and then we have that full-on bright pink. So this is just another fun way to color up the image. Lots and lots of color variations you can do with this. Now, this butterfly turns out absolutely gorgeous. I don't end up using it on my project today, but I am going to save it for another card. So then here is my butterfly all colored up. I'm definitely going to put that off on the side. It is a beautiful color combination, especially when it has that overlap. Now I'm moving on to the flowers. So for this one, I am starting off with Wild Dandelion, and I'm going around those outer edges, kind of having it fade into the white towards the center, which is a really, really pretty look. But as I like to always kind of step things up a little bit, I thought, what if? So I wiped off that excess ink, and then I came in with that Passionate Pink just at the very tip of the edges of the flower. And I really like how this came out. These are the flowers I end up using on my card project today. So it's got that little bit of shading on the outside edge. It's got that little bit of yellow in the middle and then that white center. So I'm going to go through all of my flower shapes and do that same kind of coloring. So we have Wild Dandelion and Passionate Pink. You just want to be really careful with the Passionate Pink because it can overtake some of these flowers. The flowers get a little smaller, so you want to be careful that the Passionate Pink doesn't overtake the flower. After all of my flowers are colored in and I'm still kind of thinking about what I'm going to do, I took a piece of layering weight cardstock from Gina K Designs. It is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to add on some apple mint ink. So it's a really nice light, kind of almost pastel green. I blended it so it fades off into white towards the center of the card. Then I brought in light carnation and I did this from the other side. starting off of the cardstock, blending on to it, and then having it fade off into white. Now here I am using an Altenew flat blending brush. It is kind of my preferred choice when it comes to large areas of a background to ink blend. Now I have this front panel on my window, which I die cut out that oval using the oval shaker die from Gina K Designs. I think it's going to really help kind of rein things in and frame out my flowers and butterfly. This is the inside piece of the oval. I'm going to use it to stamp my sentiment. So I chose a sentiment off of the You Give Me Butterflies stamp set, and I'm stamping this in black onyx ink. You can stamp it multiple times if you need to have that really nice crisp impression of the black ink. Then I went ahead and die cut it out with the coordinating die. I also die cut out a few more so I can layer it together to add that dimension to my sentiment. For arranging the front of my card, I sped this up quite a bit, but I still wanted to show you how I was playing with different designs, using the pink flowers, maybe the colored butterfly. I do end up landing on those yellow flowers with a butterfly that I just left stamped in black and white. I thought that was a nice striking look, and it wasn't kind of fighting for attention with my flowers. So I did just want to kind of show you the different ideas that I was playing with. Now to attach my frame, I like to pop these up. And for this, I'm using the Gina K Designs foam strips. She has foam strips, small foam squares, and large foam squares, and they are all amazing. So once I lined that oval window panel with the foam strips, I'm going to remove the backing and place this over my ink blended panel. This next part is also really sped up, but I left in my entire process here. So the main thing that I was really trying to do as I had just kind of laid everything out was I wanted the front of the card to be flush. And in order to do that, I needed to add 2 foam squares behind the area of the flowers that were going to be overlapping into that circle. Because remember, I popped I shouldn't say circle, oval. I popped the frame up so it's got some lift. So I added 2 foam squares behind the part of the flower that's going to be inside of the oval. And I did that with the butterfly and also the sentiment at the top. That way, everything is going to be nice and flush across the front of the card. I'm not going to have any pieces kind of dipping down or uneven. Now, the parts of the sentiment and the flowers that are going to be touching the white cardstock or the outside of my frame, that I am using some Connect glue that I have in the fine tip bottles. So I just kind of press it down, let that sit, and it's going to be attached. I like to dress up the center of my flowers using either some pearls or any type of embellishment, and Gina has a great selection where there's some black, silver, and gold pearls. I chose the gold pearls to be in the center, so I'm using my pick and stick tool, I believe it is. It's got kind of that waxy grip at the end that's going to help pick up those beads. I can add a dot of my Connect glue to the center and then place that back down. And I just could not resist adding some sparkle. So I do have some, I think it's unicorn stickles that I went in and I added it to the small white areas of the butterfly. And then I also kind of traced around one edge of the larger open areas of the butterfly. Key thing to note is that if this touches black ink, it is going to change color a little bit. So you'll probably see in the final picture that it almost has like a green hint to it. I almost covered it up with a new stamped piece, but decided to leave it because it kind of tied into my apple mint in the background. Now, even though I did a lot of changing up and switching things out, I think this card turned out super sweet and very whimsical. And that's kind of the nice thing about just coloring up a bunch of flowers at once is you can switch them in and out depending on what appeals to you. I hope you enjoyed today's card inspiration. If you haven't checked out the new You Give Me Butterflies bundle from Gina K Designs, I highly suggest heading over there and checking that all out. Thank you so much for joining me. See you soon.